The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Accord pulsed with violet light. Planets rose and fell in soft holographic arcs above the circular tribunal floor, suspended in thin strands of gravity lace. 73 species were present. Not one of them believed the humans would last the hour. General Zarkuin of the Ulari Dominion stood 3 meters tall, coiled in imperial armor made of exochitin and steel bones. His 6-fingered hand slammed against the podium, silencing the chamber with a sound like thunder cracking through marble. "Earth will submit," he hissed, mandibles flaring. "Or Earth will be purged." A rustle of approval moved like wind through the alien crowd, tentacle nods, hiss-click applause, sonar ripples of smug satisfaction. The humans, after all, were new to the Accord. Small, primitive, unseasoned, and now they'd been summoned to account for their defiant posture and refusal to pay tribute to the Dominion fleet. General Zarkuin's voice deepened. "You will offer 7% planetary yield, 1 moon per orbit, and 100,000 mines for the knowledge harvest. This is mercy. A smaller species would not receive it." Silence lingered. The floating podium at the center, reserved for Earth's representative, remained empty. A few aliens chuckled. Others muttered translations. Then she arrived. A single pair of footsteps echoed down the marble ramp. Calla Reeve walked in slowly, as if the meeting were running late and someone owed her coffee. She wore a sleek, jet-black combat suit threaded with neon veins of light that pulsed faintly to her heartbeat. Her shoulders were draped in a half-cape, dark navy, stitched with stars, and the unmistakable red and white stripes of a tattered American flag that had no place in the galaxy. She looked young. Too young. 29 maybe. No weapons. No entourage. Just a travel mug in one hand, boots that didn't shine, and eyes that refused to blink. The assembly murmured. The alien delegate from Helix whispered, "That's all they sent." General Zarkuin bared his diamond fangs. "Is this a human joke?" Calla took the center platform and pressed the gravity panel. It rose in smooth silence. She stopped halfway, tilted her head at the towering Ulari warlord, and sipped her drink. "General Zarkuin," she said softly, "apologies for the delay. I was detained by your hospitality drone. He asked me to disarm." "And did you?" Zarkuin snarled. She smiled. "Of course not. That would be dishonest." The assembly grew quiet. Calla looked around the vast chamber, then down at the ornate treaty table between them, a relic of the Accord's founding, carved from the bones of a dead sun god, or so the legends claimed. "You ask for tribute," she said gently, running her finger along the edge. 7% of planetary yield. 1 moon. 100,000 mines. General Zarkuin leaned forward, armor hissing. "Yes." Calla took a long breath, then smiled, voice light as a spring breeze. "Respectfully, sir, Earth's response is simple." She paused. "A beat too long. We will kill you, idiot." It wasn't shouted. It wasn't cruel. It was spoken like a tired schoolteacher correcting an overconfident child. A few delegates snorted, thinking it a mistranslation. Others laughed. But those who looked closely, at the way her pulse didn't rise, at the slight shimmer behind her eyes, went very still. "You mock the Dominion?" Zarkuin thundered. Calla took another sip. "No. We just don't owe you anything." The hall erupted, shouts, growls, a few nervous sonar bursts. A feathered elder from the Carthy shook his head. "You challenge the order that holds this galaxy." Calla's voice didn't rise. "Order built on fear isn't order. It's a hostage situation." One of Zarkuin's advisors hissed, "What gives you the right?" She turned to him. "Because we're the only species here that learned to weaponize peace." Another beat. Silence. Then Zarkuin stepped forward. His claws tapped the table like an execution drum. "You are not special. You are mammals. Barely escaped your own gravity well. You live on a dirt ball, worship ancient wars, and poison your own seas. We have seen your history. It is full of death." "Exactly," Calla said. The words hung. She stepped forward, placing her mug gently on the treaty table. "We are what you get when survival isn't a phase, it's a religion. When diplomacy is taught with a knife behind your back. You looked at Earth and saw weakness. But we buried empires before we had spaceships. You ask for tribute like we're just another prey species. That was your first mistake. She leaned in, almost casually. Her voice softened. Your second mistake was letting me in. General Zarquin raised a claw. This is a declaration of war, then? Kala straightened. No. That would imply we respect your ability to respond. From somewhere unseen, the lights dimmed. A hum, subtle, cold, deliberate, shivered through the air. The ancient chamber flickered as thousands of small blue motes appeared overhead. Data trails, patterns, signals. It took a moment for anyone to realize what they were seeing. Planetary systems, strategic grids, Dominion defense networks. All lay bare. Kala didn't look up. She was already watching the fear bloom across the room. We didn't come to offer tribute. We came to count how many of you would be left. A pause. Then her wrist lit with a silent command. The data vanished. The lights returned. Nothing had exploded. Yet. But the silence in the assembly now buzzed with sweat and dread. The kind only prey animals know right before the teeth close in. Earth isn't alone, a delegate whispered, almost pleading. There are protocols. The Accord will respond. Kala turned, gaze calm. You think we came uninvited? We orchestrated this gathering. She reached into a pouch at her hip and tossed a single silver coin onto the table. It spun once, gleaming with an old Earth emblem, a screaming eagle. A tribute, she said. From us to you. Zarquin stared at the coin like it was a bomb. And then she smiled. The room stayed silent as her cape caught the faint breeze of the hall's airflow system. Red, white, blue, draped not like pride, but like warning. I'll see myself out, she said, stepping back. Wouldn't want to be impolite. She descended the ramp without hurry, boots echoing. General Zarquin didn't move. His claws trembled faintly, just once. By the time she reached the end of the walkway, the security systems were still frozen. No one had issued a command. No one had spoken. No one knew what to say. Kala paused at the doorway and turned slightly. Oh, she added lightly. Your hospitality drone? He's fine now. I just upgraded him. She walked into the light. Behind her, the door slid shut. Inside the chamber, the ancient data table flickered. On its polished surface, the silver coin stopped spinning. The eagle stared back at them, screaming. They hadn't expected her to return. The assembly hall's air was thicker this time, filtered, but somehow fouler. The scent of electric stress. No applause. No mocking whispers. Just the weight of dozens of alien stares and twitching limbs. The kind of stillness that comes after the first brush with death. The duel was Zarquin's idea. Public, ceremonial, controlled. He called it a test of honor. But everyone knew what it really was. Humiliation. And Kala? She accepted before he finished the sentence. The chosen arena lay beneath the Accord's citadel, a vast combat circle carved into a hollowed asteroid and layered with force field stands. It was tradition, a relic of older times when disputes were settled not with signatures, but with spectacle. Today, the seats were full. 73 species watched in silence as she entered the ring. Kala walked alone. Same suit, same flag cape. Coffee gone this time. Her expression unreadable. She didn't check her weapon systems, didn't scan the crowd. Just took her place at the center of the pit, like it was another Monday. From the opposite gate thundered the Dominion's champion, Kreth Varista, a bioengineered brute from the war world Skarn. He stood 12 feet tall, all spiked sinew and plated muscle. His jaw split open into 4 tusk blades. His blood was oxygenated lava. They said he once tore a bounty cruiser in half with his bare hands. Someone near the viewing glass muttered, "She doesn't stand a chance." Someone else replied, "She knows." The announcer boomed in a dozen languages. Trial of honor. Combatants. General Reeve of Terra, designation, human, versus Kreth of Skarn, designation, apex. Kreth roared. Sound cracked the arena walls. Kala just yawned. Then silence. The match began. Kreth charged, no warning, no ceremony. His footsteps made the steel shiver. He leapt, massive arms outstretched to crush her like a god swatting a fly. She sidestepped. Once. A pulse of energy flicked from her palm, barely a shimmer. Kreth froze midair, twitched, then dropped like a tree. When the dust cleared, he was still breathing. Barely. The match was over in 4 seconds. Kala knelt beside him. Not mockingly, not cruelly. Just calm. She whispered something no mic caught. Then stood, brushed dirt from her knee, and waved toward the judges. Next, she offered. No one moved. In the upper box, General Zarkowin didn't speak. His claws dug into the seat's armrests until the alloy cracked. Later, in a smaller chamber lined with obsidian tiles and nervous aides, the council demanded an explanation. She cheated, one hissed. She used forbidden tech, another barked. She used precision, Kala replied, seated casually at the end of the long war table, legs crossed, sipping from a new cup. He was designed to kill. I was trained to end. An ambassador from Drac. Seven slammed his fist. You brought one girl to represent Earth? One. That's not diplomacy, that's suicide. Kala smiled faintly. That's interesting language. Girl. Earth. Suicide. She tilted her head. We tend to use different metrics. The ambassador fumed. You mock the accord. She leaned forward, voice softer. You keep saying mock. I keep saying warn. Maybe you're not listening. A silence crept across the table. Then, from the far end of the chamber, a new voice spoke. Calm. Analytical. She doesn't need backup, said High Strategist Lyrith SAA of the neutral Varlon race. Amphibious, cerebral, politically quiet. Until now. She's not the invasion. She's the signal. Kala gave a polite nod. Finally. A functioning brain. Gasps rippled. Lyrith continued, unfazed. There have been anomalies. Dominion outposts disappearing. Communications blackouts near Terran-controlled space. Our long-range sensors picked up patterns. Zarkowin bared his fangs. Coincidence. Kala's eyes flicked up. Sharp now. You think coincidence taught me your shift rotations? Or that your cruiser's central AI was reciting Earth nursery rhymes last night? She tapped her wrist and tossed a small projector onto the table. It flickered. Footage. One of the Dominion's core satellites, offline, floating dead. Then it blinked once. Then again. Each blink spelled Morse. SON. I believe that's called foreshadowing, Kala said gently. The table erupted into chaotic tongues, galactic dialects, and threat languages clashing like broken orchestra strings. A tentacled chancellor snarled. So Earth is at war with us all? No, Kala said, standing. You declared that when you demanded minds and moons like we were cattle. We just decided not to play along. The Drac, 7 ambassadors sneered. Earth has no fleets. No dreadnoughts. No weapons we fear. That's the thing, she said, walking slowly around the table, voice dropping into something quieter, sharper. You think war is about ships, firepower, numbers. She passed behind Zarkowin. He didn't turn, but his spine rippled. We don't do war the way you do, she continued. We do obsession. We do vengeance. We do it so thoroughly you forget what peace looked like. She paused at the central holomap. Dozens of stars glittered. She reached up, tapped one system. It vanished. Gone, she said. Then another. Tap. Vanish. Took us 9 weeks. Another. Another. Silence again. Heavier this time. We're not winning battles, she whispered. We're erasing the concept of resistance. A long breath from the room. Then Kala stopped. Tilted her head. You still think I'm the only one here? Zarkowin turned then, slowly. There are more. She smiled. We're human, General. We never bring just one. On cue, the lights dimmed. Not a system glitch, controlled, deliberate. From the far corners of the chamber, faint chimes rang out. Simple Earth melodies. Children's music. London Bridge hummed through the speakers in a voice that didn't belong to anyone in the room. Every terminal locked. Every data feed stalled. every exit sealed with a polite ping. A final hologram bloomed above them. Earth, surrounded not by ships, but by blinking satellites, orbiting quietly. Each one now glowed red. "Your defenses are now instructional material," she said, tone even. Then, with a final tap, she restored the lights. Everything returned to normal. Almost. Except no one in that room ever felt safe again. As she turned to leave, someone called after her. A younger alien envoy, voice uncertain. "General Reeve, what do you want?" Calla stopped in the doorway. That, she said softly, was the wrong question. And she was gone. The sun over Tau Lyra burned cold and distant, more blue than gold. The Dominion outpost below, nestled into the side of a calcified cliff, had gone silent 3 days ago. No alerts. No distress signals. Just silence. The investigation team arrived to find the buildings untouched, defenses still armed, rations sealed, communications operational. Everything pristine. Except there were no bodies. Not one. Only a single message scrawled across the outpost's main screen in looping Terran cursive. "You were watching us. But we were already in." Back in the Accord chamber, Lyrith SAA stood alone before the war map. Whole sectors blinked in and out like 6 stars. She traced her webbed fingers along the curved edge of the hologram and whispered to herself, "They're not waging war. They're making a point." Behind her, the door hissed open. Calla entered without ceremony, her flag cape still fluttering slightly, even though there was no wind here. Her expression unreadable, except for that ever-present patience, like a hunter watching a bear try to open a locked door. "You wanted to speak," Lyrith said. "I thought you deserved clarity." "You mean mercy." "I mean clarity," Calla said, stepping up beside her. "Mercy is conditional." Lyrith turned, her amphibious eyes searching. "Then speak it plain. You've already shaken the Accord. Half the outer colonies have declared neutrality. Some Dominion officers are abandoning posts without orders. What's the plan, General?" Calla didn't answer immediately. She let the question hang. Then she reached into her coat and withdrew an old object, flat, rectangular, made of worn plastic and rusted screws. A toy. An ancient handheld game from Earth. "This," she said, holding it gently in her palm, "was my first lesson in strategy. Tiny green pixels. One button. Survive as long as you can." Lyrith frowned. "That's your weapon?" Calla smirked faintly. "It's our history. We taught our children to fight extinction before they could spell it." She set the device down. "You all thought we'd come with fleets, with fire, with declarations. But Earth never needed armies. We needed patience. Patterns. Pressure. The kind that doesn't roar, it waits." Lyrith studied her. "You came here to teach the galaxy a lesson?" "No," Calla said, her tone cooler now. "We came because you asked for tribute. We came because you assumed you could measure our worth in resource percentages and biological compliance. We came because someone needed to remind you what predators actually look like." Her voice darkened only slightly. "See, we didn't forget what we are when we left Earth. We brought it with us." A hush settled between them. Then the wall display pulsed, and a new alert blinked onto the map. "Jora 17, another Dominion post. Gone dark." The words beneath read, "No survivors detected. No resistance logged." Lyrith stepped closer. "Your agents did this?" "Not agents," Calla said. "Citizens. Engineers. Linguists. One ran a coffee shop outside the defense grid. Another painted murals. They planted the virus in song lyrics, in gallery lights, in software updates. You let us in because we smiled. You left the door open because we laughed." Lyritha's voice dropped. "That's not warfare. It's human." Elsewhere, in a hidden chamber beneath Earth's own crust, a quiet figure watched a dozen holograms shimmer. Director Hayden, aged, pale, eyes like frostbite, turned to his assistant. "Update on Phase 4? Execution proceeding. 57% of the Accord's language AIs are now seated. 6 capital ships have been reprogrammed to ignore human signatures." Hayden nodded. "And the general?" The assistant smiled. "Still smiling, sir. Hayden looked back at the screen where Kala's face glowed, framed by that flag cape. Let her. It unnerves them more than blood. Back in the assembly hall, a special session had been called. The air was thick with worry, though everyone pretended otherwise. Zarkoin had returned, now accompanied by 6 bodyguards and a new translation collar that flared with stress colors. Kala entered last. She didn't look tired or triumphant, just calm. Too calm for someone who'd single-handedly upended a galactic empire. Zarkoin rose. This ends now. Kala blinked. I agree. You will deactivate your agents. Withdraw. Return control of compromised systems. She tilted her head. Is that a request or a demand? He growled. It is survival. She raised a brow. For you or us? A sudden tremor passed through the chamber, not physical, but atmospheric. Every screen in the room glitched once. Just once. The holotable reloaded. This time, it wasn't a galactic map. It was Earth. And from its surface rose a spiral of pulses, one for each major city. Each pulse matched known Dominion encryption frequencies. Earth had reverse-engineered every system they'd been denied access to. You thought we were the virus, Kala said. But we were the cure, just hiding in the bloodstream. Another glitch. Brief. Then, across every delegate's screen flashed a single sentence. We never needed armies. Just invitations. Chaos broke like thunder. Delegates shouted. Some fled. Others tried to override systems, only to find their controls were frozen, held hostage by code that had never screamed or sparked. Just whispered. Zarkoin roared. You want total war? You will be erased. Kala finally stood. No, she said, voice unwavering. We want recognition. For what? For what we are. He stepped forward, fists clenched. Monsters. She met his gaze. Survivors. Zarkoin lunged, not physically, but diplomatically. The accord will not bend to threats. Kala stepped closer to the table. It's not bending. It's kneeling. Someone in the back gasped. Lyrith watched silently, one eye on the data feeds still blinking with Earth's signature. Slowly, deliberately, she whispered, This isn't conquest. This is inevitability. Kala heard. Smiled faintly. We don't conquer. We contaminate. We outlast. We laugh while bleeding. She paused. That's what you never understood. You all built your empires to stand tall. We built ours to fall. And rise again. Sharper. Zarkoin snarled. Then you came here to bring collapse. No, she said, and her voice softened like snowfall on iron. We came to see who would still stand after the dust. A long silence followed. Then, quietly, Lyrith asked, What is it you want now? Kala looked to her, then the whole room. To be left alone. She walked toward the exit, boots echoing once more. But, she added, almost an afterthought, if you insist on circling Earth like vultures, if you come for our moons, our minds, or our children. She turned in the doorway. Then you'll get to meet the ones who aren't smiling. And the door shut behind her. They arrived in silence. 7 warships, one from each of the Accord's elite military species, hung above Earth like blades strung across the sky. Each bore a crest carved in alloy and bone. Each housed the deadliest general their civilization had ever produced. 7 commanders, each chosen for their ability to crush rebellions, silence moons, raise legacies. And all of them had one target, General Kala Reeve. The Accord called it Operation Contain and Neutralize. Contain her influence. Neutralize the threat. End the myth before it spread. Earth didn't respond. Not with transmissions. Not with threats. Just one phrase was returned on every intercepted signal. We're just warming up. General Orvash of the Corps was the first to land. His vessel pierced atmosphere over Colorado like a spear through a drumhead, throwing out thunder that echoed for miles. The Corps were cold-blooded tacticians, brutal, exact, humorless. Orvash wore bone-gray armor polished with the dust of the planets he'd conquered. His face was lined with electro-scars from 20 years of trench wars. He stepped from his craft and looked around the rocky terrain with disdain. Where is the human? Kala Reeve stepped out from a birch grove behind him. Alone. No guards. Just a mug of something warm, steam curling in the wind. "You didn't call ahead," she said, sipping. Orvash blinked at her. "Do you surrender?" She laughed. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't defiant. Just amused. "You sent 7 of you?" "We are the Accord's hammer," he said. "Well," she shrugged. "Try not to chip the planet." He lunged. She didn't move. The fight was over in 7 seconds. Orvash was still breathing. Barely. His neural ports fused. His suit cracked. A micro-drone, barely larger than a splinter, had embedded itself in the base of his skull mid-leap. It hummed a soft lullaby as he collapsed. Kala stood over him, sipping again. 1 down. Back in orbit, the other 6 watched in silence. Most had dismissed the footage as fabricated, human propaganda, filtered and altered. But now, with Orvash offline, they began to doubt. Next came the twin sisters of Lorik Prime, Vana and Sira, famed for their psychic link and fleet-wide telepathic coordination. They descended together over the fields of Kansas, where Kala waited on an old wooden porch, rocking gently in a creaking chair, boots up, flag cape drifting behind her in the wheat. "You will not win," Vana said. "We know your thoughts." Kala tapped the side of her temple. "Do you?" Sira flinched. Her nose bled. "What was that?" Vana hissed. "Static," Kala replied. "We found a way to feed you feedback loops. Your minds will keep chasing what's not there." Sira screamed and dropped to her knees. Vana followed. Their heads hit the soil together, twitching, murmuring things in languages they never spoke. Kala rose. 3. General Fesk of the Druin descended with fire. His drop pod scorched a 30-mile crater in the Nevada desert. The Druin did not speak in words. They communicated via scent and pulse. And Fesk was known for one thing: persistence. He once fought for 48 hours straight against a horde of fire wasps on a gas moon. But Kala didn't let him start. She triggered the dust. What looked like sand was actually a fine distribution of carbon-bound smart particles. Harmless individually. Lethal when networked. When Fesk landed, he inhaled intelligence. And the desert responded. His armor folded inward. His senses misfired. His pulse speak was hijacked by the very air. When he fell, twitching and blind, Kala whispered into a discarded comlink. 4. Above Earth, panic began to slither through the Accord fleet. The remaining 3 generals, Grenth of the Vesk, Euthalii of the Spore Worlds, and Kurnash the Iron Shaper, held a silent council in orbit. Grenth was the oldest, plated in obsidian, carved with scars that told the story of 50 star sieges. "We miscalculated," he admitted. "She is not one soldier. She is a civilization in motion." Euthalii pulsed softly through the hive mind link. She is not alone. That realization chilled them, because Kala hadn't been deploying force. Not in the way they knew it. She was reintroducing Earth's nature, its complexity, its unpredictability. She was wielding culture like a weapon, curiosity like a virus. No 2 confrontations had been alike. There were no tactics to mirror, no rhythm to disrupt. The playbook was human, and it terrified them. The 3 generals agreed to land together. A united front, a concentrated strike. They chose the ruins of an old Terran city, Detroit long abandoned, its buildings like broken teeth beneath a gray sky. They arrived with weapons drawn, formations locked, protocols synced. Kala stood on the rooftop of a crumbling library. "I'm impressed," she called out. "Most folks never make it past 3. Kurnash stepped forward. "We are not here to fight. We are here to contain you." She laughed again. Always that same light-hearted laugh. The kind that didn't match the bodies behind her. "Contain," she echoed. "Oh, darling. I was never the leak. I was the message." Grent snarled, launching his spike cannon. The library roof exploded, but Kala had moved. Or vanished. Then came the voice. Not from her, but from the sky. Every satellite, every comms relay, every scrap of tech within 1,000 miles pulsed once, then spoke with Kala's voice. "You still think this is about me?" The generals froze. Across the city, windows lit up. Apartment buildings, sewers, cars, and from them emerged others. Humans, men, women, elderly, teenagers, dressed in everything from ragged flannel to high-grade adaptive armor. They bore no insignia, no command structure, no central frequency, but they moved like a storm rolling downhill. Grenth lifted his calm retreat. Retreat. A child pointed something, an old camera. Grenth's vision scrambled. His HUD melted. He screamed as a single phrase burned into his retina. We remember who we are. Euthaliai dissolved mid-signal, consumed by sound frequencies her spores had never encountered. Music, twisted and weaponized. Distorted lullabies encoded with ancient Terran grief. Kurnash turned to run. Kala was already behind him. She didn't hit him. She whispered, "We don't win with numbers. We win with ideas." He dropped, knees buckling. Not from pain, from realization. Above Earth, the Accord fleet watched in horror. 7 generals had been sent. Not one had returned. Then came the broadcast. Not encrypted, not disguised. Just Kala, standing on Earth's surface, cloak fluttering, a fractured skyline behind her. The American flag flared like old fire. "Your 7 failed," she said, "and we're just warming up." She leaned in toward the camera. "So here's the new offer. Leave. Don't orbit. Don't whisper. Don't think of Earth again." She paused. "And if you want a war?" The camera shook slightly as something massive passed behind her, an Earth ship rising from beneath the soil, silent and bone-white, shaped like a dagger. "You'll find out what we've been doing while you laughed." The feed cut. Silence reigned. Then, one by one, the ships began turning. Earth was no longer a target. It was a warning.